Hello.
Hello, Chris. How you doing?
How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. We haven't heard your voice on this podcast at any point, have we?
No, I don't think so. I think this is
Right.
first time.
So if you're listening right now, you might be like, who's that guy?
Who's that legend? Who's that incredible human being that is just...
that is Chris Barn. That is Chris, who is our sound producer and who runs Backland Studios. And if you've listened to Right Club Open Mic, which Chris and I put together beforehand, that was the first thing we kind of tried to make together. You'll be used to us chatting, mostly about bread,
like bread.
And Chris's beard. Chris is our producer, but actually, Chris, you've mostly been communicating with the listeners through poses that you're making through the window.
I mean, it's just those actions speak way louder, don't they?
Yeah, Chris does like a kind of the odd muscle man pose when it's kind of going pretty well. It gives us a bit of a scowl if we mention people sending in WAV files and stuff.
Just latching on to my insecurities, Mark. I just want to make sure.
But it's good to be chatting to you, man.
Yeah, and you,
How
man?
are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm cold. Like, it's turning mega cold. So
Yeah, very quickly,
I'm not dealing
hasn't
with that
it?
very well at the moment.
Yeah, we're well out of festival season now.
So any listeners out there, ping me some gloves. That'll be wicked. Thanks.
This is why we don't put you on, Chris. You're on less than a minute and you're already making demands.
I sound like I'm selling apples. So it's like, it's just like, why am I here?
Well, look, Chris, this is cool. This is, I guess, if this was a sitcom, this is kind of like a bottle episode, right? We're kind of stripping everything back.
Yeah.
Just to recap the journey a bit that we've been on, and we've got a great guest coming on today, a really good friend of mine, Georgia Preece, a member of the Right Club online group that I was part of during the lockdowns. And Georgia has been building or trying to build something really kind of quite complex.
Awesome.
And she's going to talk about it today. What's been your favourite thing about building this, Chris?
I think it's just people. Really nice to hear what people have to say and their experiences, and some of it's anecdotal, but I really like hearing about everyone's lives and what they've gone through to get to where they are and how they view things. It's nice. It's not always about the work for me. It's just nice to hear about how people talk about their lives, really.
Yeah, Murray's story was pretty
really
incredible.
Cool. He's a really
wasn't it?
nice guy. He's really nice.
Really nice guy, yeah. What's been challenging? We cut through a lot of audio, don't we?
Yeah, it's always about technicals with things because people don't realise a lot of the time moving around, there's always a technical within recording voice work. It could be scuffing the mic, knocking the stand or whatever it is. So that's just part of the job, but I love it. I love doing what I do, so I never see it as a problem. It's all good.
Yeah, I think for me adjusting to the space was quite a lot. I've got used to the foam now. It's a lot of it.
You love that foam.
I do love the
foam. You live
foam.
for that foam.
It's just, it reeks of professionalism.
Well, that's what I mean.
I think for me, the challenge has been probably like going through the Arts Council, like the Grantium application process. I've been trying to make a new application for a third series of this podcast. And with Grantium having been down, it's been really challenging. It's funny to me, all the different ingredients that have had to kind of be worked on just so we're finally in this room.
Yeah. But that's the thing, isn't it? It's always the hard work that goes into something and then it's the outcome, isn't it? It's always what you hear. It's not the hours or the time that's been put to use to make it happen, is it?
Yeah. I think if you are interested in thinking about that, maybe today during this episode, I think with Georgia, we're going to talk about all these layers of things that come together to make something happen. If you're an artist who, works on making these projects and kind of feels that kind of grind, we feel you. We're going to be kind of digging into that today. And if you're also interested in just learning maybe what it would take to put together your own event or maybe your own literary festival, spoiler, that's what we're going to be talking about today. Maybe, Chris, we could start with a poem.
Sure.
We've had loads of poems sent in. Our social media guru at the moment, Ren, has been fixing up our socials. You may notice we're on kind of at We the Poets podcast, I think is our handle. We've got different posts coming up from different people, but Ren coordinates it all. Since Ren's been doing that, the socials have really, really grown. And again, that's our whole behind the scenes kind of process of kind of building that whole thing. But we've been getting so many submissions now. So this was a selection of poems that came in from a poet called Dan Weber. All three poems were brilliant. We're going to try and have 6. Cool. But this one by Dan, all 3 pieces, I feel like you can feel the craft that's gone into this. And we thought, what a really, really great piece to start this episode with. This is called To All the Boys.
At the Odeon, near Birmingham New Street, we are watching Frozen 2. A spur-of-the-moment decision made on a hungover Sunday afternoon. I am with my boyfriend of 10 months. We sit at the back, hand in hand, laughing because we're the only adults there without children. And halfway through the film, it hits me that after hashtag give Elsa a girlfriend, Disney might have listened. Choking back tears, I picture children looking up at the big screen, seeing their heroine end credit scene embracing a member of the same sex. True love's kiss. A message to all the boys in the Elsa dresses, to anyone who ever felt out of place as a child. A statement that no amount of placards in the playground can halt progress, that we are here and we are valid. When I saw the Love, Simon trailer in the cinema, I cried. Struggled to explain to my best friend sat beside me how important it was and how 10 years ago a film with a homosexual teenage male lead would not have been made in the American mainstream. And if I'd seen that film when I was 16, 14, 12 even, I might not have been so afraid of myself or how I was feeling. I choose to believe in my lifetime there'll be a gay Disney princess. And it won't be done for effect. It won't be released in Pride Month to appeal to that elusive queer market. It won't be cut out or dumbed down like Star Wars in China. It'll be front and centre. And for the record, it should have been Elsa. Deserved to be Elsa. And this is how it should have happened. Spoilers for Frozen 2. Anna, the new Queen of Arendelle, sends a message to her sister in the north. Elsa, the fifth spirit, climbs upon her water horse, turns back and says, "Aren't you coming?" Honeymaran smiles. Climbing up, she slips her arms around Elsa's waist, and they ride off into the sunset. And because this is Disney, they both live happily ever after. The end.
Wow, what a great piece. You could feel the craft behind that, I think, couldn't you, Chris?
Yeah, it was amazing. Really, really good.
Thank you so much, Dan Webber, for sending that in. We'll put a link in the description of this podcast so you can find more of Dan's work. But for now, we got Georgia in the studio. Hey, Georgia, how are you doing?
I'm really good, yeah, thanks.
Thanks so much for travelling down from Lincoln to join us today. We've worked together for like 2 years, pretty much, every Monday and Friday. So it's really cool to be in the same room together. Do you want to introduce yourself to the listeners, Georgia, and tell them about yourself and what you're interested in?
Yeah, so I'm a Lincoln-based artist, poet, facilitator and charity sector worker. I'm really interested in like systems change work, which is a big part of what I'm doing at the moment in the project that we're going to talk about. I'm obsessed with Duncan Grant. I make a lot of art about this guy who died before I was born. I'm obsessed with him and I just make art about him all the time.
Sorry, Duncan Grant?
Yeah, so he was part of the Bloomsbury group and I don't know why, I just have like a spiritual connection with him and I just make artwork about him all the time. Because essentially I was a teenager who used to write fan fiction and now I'm a grown-up that's essentially doing the same thing but through art.
Why Duncan Grant?
Oh God, there's just so much about him. Like he was a pacifist. He moved away from London during the war with Vanessa Bell to set up just this creative community in East Sussex. His daughter described him as a homosexual with bisexual tendencies. And as someone who's bi, I find the biphobia in that statement just so loud. And he just feels like, I don't know, I just have this connection with him. And yeah, I'm obsessed.
How many pieces of art do you think you've made inspired by him?
I've been working on art about him for the last 3 years, just constantly churning out work about him, which is ridiculous.
Wow, that's so cool.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's amazing.
Mm-hmm. I've always loved poetry, and as a teenager I used to write and perform at school talent shows, and then I stopped. I had my first ever panic attack during a school debate team competition, which is a really lame thing to admit out loud. And it just stopped me writing poetry altogether, because I've always written to perform. And so I thought, well, what's the point in writing if I'm not going to perform it?
Was that quite a long process to overcome that?
Yeah. And I think it felt like a real betrayal of my nervous system, because I am so much more comfortable on a stage than I am doing this. Like, one-to-one interactions terrify me. Being on a stage, having an audience, so much easier. I can do that. So then when I had that panic attack on a stage, I was like, what? This is my safe space. So it took me a while to be like, that is your comfort zone. You're okay there. My knees would betray me. Like, I'd feel okay, but my knees would be juddering. But it took me a little while to work through that, yeah.
How did you overcome it, do you think?
Just keep doing it. And I think sometimes for me, it's telling the audience that I'm nervous. Like, if I get up there and my knees are a bit juddery, I'll just say, I'm really sorry, guys. I'm just feeling a bit nervous tonight. And then the whole crowd will go, oh. And then I just feel better, because I'm like, everyone knows I'm nervous now. I don't have to hide it.
Yeah.
So just letting them know that I'm a human. And then I got back into poetry when I was on my master's degree, and it was just like constant. All I could do was write and perform. And my dad got ill a few years ago, and I stopped writing. I was really hard on myself. I thought, like, maybe I'm just not a poet anymore. I just kind of came to terms with the fact that I wasn't going to write any more poetry. And then I lost my dad in April, and
I'm really sorry about that, Georgia.
Thank you. It was like I could just write again. All I was concerned with while my dad was ill was just how I could keep my dad alive, knowing that ultimately it was out of my control, but it meant that I had no capacity for creativity. And now all of the poetry that was kind of building up over those years is coming out again. So, yeah.
That's great that you're writing again and creating work.
And my dad is present in a lot of my work.
Yeah. I think it's interesting you said you felt like you weren't a poet when you weren't writing.
Yeah.
I feel like it's an art form where we regularly beat ourselves up a bit because we feel that label's kind of so heavy.
Yeah.
I think a lot of my friends who are rappers, I don't think they feel the label is as heavy as we feel the label of poet is. Why do you think that is?
I think I don't know. Like, I've always felt like I do, therefore I am sort of thing. And if I'm not doing, then I'm not. Like, I don't know. Like, if I'm not practicing, then I can't call myself that thing anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true, isn't it? And I think even when people are writing poems sometimes, they almost kind of go, I write a little rhyme here and there, but I'm not really a poet.
Yeah.
It's a funny one, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is.
Well, maybe today we're going to talk about how we can create something that helps people feel maybe like they are more allowed to be poets, or they are all part of a scene. We are all allowed to be poets, even if you've not written something for a few years. Personally, I think everyone was probably made to write a poem when they were at school at some point. How long's the gap before you write another one? It could be like 40 years. You're still a poet, just having a breather. And I don't know about you, Georgia. Personally, I think I'm kind of writing poems even when I'm not. I used to think when you're writing a poem is when you're just putting the pen on the paper and doing it. But it kind of percolates in my head.
Yeah, like for the last few years, even when I wasn't writing, like I've had like one line just kind of repeating in my head.
What's
and I still
line?
Haven't gone anywhere with that. There are pheasants in the fields again. And I don't know where I'm going with it, but I know that there are pheasants in the fields again.
That's a cool line.
It's pretty cool.
So here's the thing. You probably have seen the title of this podcast is called There Are Pheasants in the Fields Again. And this is a good example. All the things that go on behind the scenes that help us then create the final product. Chris and I only really kind of met because he messaged me about recording a book, right, Chris?
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
And we've been able to work together for years now.
It's a beautiful thing.
Isn't it funny that we're here in the room now, Georgia, because of that online Write Club group? And over quite a large amount of time that people don't see and experience, you foster relationships.
Yeah.
You kind of grow to trust other people in the space, and you kind of get things made. I guess it's actually a lot slower and more of a grind to get anything done than people often say out loud.
Yeah. I think there's so much work that goes into just talking to people and building relationships, and that all counts for something, but it might not feel like a direct investment in something. Just talking to people is so beautiful, and it always leads to something.
Yeah. I think we want to do more is try and get out to more open mics and
yeah, definitely
trying to like connect with other people, because those little moments of interaction can end up growing into something much, much bigger. Well, I would love is if you could share a piece with us. Would that be all right?
Yeah. One thing I have learned in the time that I wasn't reading poetry is that I now need glasses, which
Same.
makes turning up for open mics a different experience now. The poem that I've picked, it's political. Is that all right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's good.
Chris, are you all right with politics?
Get it in my face.
Oh, what's it called as well?
The kids aren't all right. The kids don't dance like they used to. You see, it's hard to get hot on the dance floor when your feed is flooded with news of another war, a genocide, and conversations that fuel divide and water levels that continue to rise. Be young, be foolish, be flooded by the guilt of job rejections, health conditions, and now you've let down your work coach. And fuck, he's one of the good uns. But you know, you're not working hard enough, not applying for enough, not stressing enough about this. But what is this while there are children in Gaza that are dying? Scream that the people in Gaza are starving and be met with deaf ears. Breathe. Know that both things are both as real. Feel the hunger in your own belly when your benefits don't stretch enough to put food on the table, and know that there is no food entering Gaza. Feel the weight of your own mental health and the anger of being let down by service after service, but smile that you are still here to feel this pain. Be proud of yourself for just getting through another day. The kids aren't all right. And I'm watching as they run out of fight. The kids are derealised, realise their dreams will never be realised. They give up. Try instead for a dead-end job, quote-unquote unskilled labour. Still stressful enough to keep you up at night, and now you're too exhausted to think about the bigger fight. Divide and conquer. Because there's only so much worry one person can hold on to, and that's tactics. Strategic moves to keep us stuck. Make sure that we don't have the strength to rise up, because they know that if we did, they'd be fucked. So for now, it's me against you, not us against them, because then we could imagine what the world could be if you and me rose up like the sea, a future where you could be standing next to me, and the futures that would grow out of a Palestine that's free.
Oh my God, when did you write that?
A few weeks ago, yeah.
How long did it take to write it?
It just came out, like it was just a single sit-in. I was on a train and it just came out, yeah. Because in my job, I see, like I work for a charity, and I see young people that are so aware of what is going on in the world. And I've been that kid as well. Like I was on universal credit and I was being told by my job coach, like, just get a job. And it was during the pandemic. And I was like, what do you mean? The world's on fire. And I see it now, like young people who feel so guilty that they're spending 35 hours a week applying for jobs at Poundland and like not getting it, and they're upset about those rejections, but they're like, people are dying, like this feels ridiculous, and like feeling guilty that they're feeling hurt or depressed, because in comparison it feels like a luxury to have those feelings, but like all those feelings are valid. Like we are all going through our own struggles. It's such a strong piece. Oh, thank you. It's funny, isn't it? Sometimes the pieces that kind of resonate with the audiences the most come out quite quickly. Yeah. If I'm working on something for ages, I then read it out, it doesn't have that same kind of connect as something that's it's quite raw and has come through. Thank you so much for sharing it with us.
It was great.
So at this point, we're going to listen to some more poems, I think. We're going to listen to a nice trio of them, Georgia.
Nice.
And Chris, and we're going to just see how we feel about them, because we've had so many pieces have come into our inbox. Thank you if you've sent work in. If you want to send poems to us, it is mark@wethepoets.com. Just to warn you, we are pretty much full now on submissions for this series, but if anything else comes in the inbox, I will listen to it. I will definitely reply to you. And if we get funding for a third series, we will definitely look to try and include the work in that. The three pieces we're going to play, and we're going to put them kind of back to back. The first one, maybe we have this one. We've got a piece from a great poet, Lisa O'Hare, and it comes quite nicely off the back of your piece, Georgia, because the piece is called "The Kids Are All Right."
Nice.
I think it's a really interesting kind of cool message in this piece. The next piece we're going to have is going to be by Brian F. Kirkham, and it's going to be called Crows. And the final piece we wanted to share, someone called Shaq sent this in. Now, I think this poem is not by Shaq. I think it's on an album Shaq's a part of. I think this is Louise Macken, and this piece is called My Ancestors Are From the North, which I think, Georgia, you'll like.
Nice.
Don't believe everything you read on the internet, my niece says with a withering look, and as the kids say, I was shook and speechless. The kids are all right, and they can teach us to get a grip, equip ourselves to stay more grounded, check if facts are unfounded, question grapevine chatter, and not everything online actually matters.
It might seem strange, seeing what this girl does, but it makes many smile, for with her colour she wanders through the wheat field, turning the yellow green. Confused black ravens fly overhead and pass on by, in search of ripe wheat, and only the mice know, as they pick out the stalks of wheat, to build up their nests. By the time of return, the wheat field has been harvested, leaving birds puzzled.
My ancestors are from north of the city, Miles Plattin and Newton Heath. The furthest I have got from this place in my search for the bloodlines of those I never knew, but who made me what I am, is a city south of here, Liverpool. A great-great-granddad, a stoker on merchant ships, a man whose wife remains a mystery. She, the source of my dark hair, is a thread I can't tie a knot in. But there are stories you could weave an entire blanket from. One that would keep you warm on the coldest night of the year, with the weight of recognition. My ancestors are from north of our city. They lived in densely packed back-to-back housing and orphanages amidst unrelenting poverty, where a great-granddad lost a butcher's shop on Varley Street, giving people meat they couldn't afford because in the north of the city, people were poor. When New Islington wasn't filled with coffee shops, my ancestors were coalmen who skimmed off the top and sold from back steps and inside the pubs from a horse with a cart whose brasses hang up in the home of an auntie I don't really know. My ancestors are from north of this city, a reputation built with elbow grease by Mancunian widows who gave their children away, by matriarchs who had 3 jobs, who shook self-pity into the street like crumbs from their tablecloths, who are married to strangers and loved without love. This is where we originate from. Over a century on, I feel their hands pull the hair from my face with an air of supervision, with that weight of recognition, reminding me that we are from the north of this city.
Thank you so much for those 3 pieces. That was Lisa, that was Brian, and Louise. Let's have a little chat about them. That first one, Kids Are All Right. Mm-hmm. Cool piece, right?
Yeah, really cool. I think that that intergenerational thing is really lovely. That like older people have something to learn from younger generations and vice versa. That relationship's really important. I really like that.
Yeah, I also like it when a poet gets kind of checked in a poem, because sometimes you feel like as Wiz puts, we like to kind of give our message of how things need to change, but it's quite nice when a poet is challenged, within the poem. That's cool. Nice to hear Brian again. Brian, we had some work from him on Right Club Open Mic. Thank you so much for that piece, Brian. That was really cool. And then we finished with that great piece, My Ancestors Are From the North. What do you think of that one?
Oh, that was really cool. Yeah, I love that. And it's present in a lot of my work, just like that feeling of belonging to a space, just being so connected to a space. I think especially like not necessarily a country, but like a town or a city, having that like the streets run through your veins sort of feeling.
Yeah,
was really present in that. Yeah.
Yeah, like how everything kind of condenses and galvanizes in an individual. We just had an interval and I was just talking about growing up on an island called Unst, because I grew up on the Shetland Islands, and the sea is, I'm thinking about getting a tattoo at the moment, like the sea. And Chris is super keen on it. Also interesting to think about a location and place, because you've been working on something pretty incredible, Georgia, that I really wanted to chat to you about, because when you told me you were doing this, I thought, that's an awful lot to try and coordinate. When even this podcast, I find that I struggle to keep my head around how we're putting this together. But to put together like a festival of art, was it a literary festival or?
No, so like multidisciplinary, like across art forms.
In Lincoln?
Yeah, in Lincoln. Thinking about what exists below the grassroots. Like there is a grassroots art scene in Lincoln, but what's going on underneath it? Who are the people who are making art or writing poetry, not because they want to be poets, not because they call themselves poets, but because they're just scribbling in notes apps and like it's just something they have to do, or like, they've got a job at the hospital and then they go home and they crochet on the sofa. Like those forms of creativity that are just as valid, but those people don't call themselves creatives, but they still deserve celebrating, and the stuff that they do still deserve celebrating. So yeah, putting on a week-long celebration of sort of below grassroots creativity in Lincoln.
That must be incredibly challenging to put together, because you're targeting people to celebrate who may not even know, because they're not connected with the scene necessarily, that you're even doing this.
Yeah.
Would there be performances or like?
Yeah. So a mix of sort of all sorts. I'm kind of finding people, I'm just going out and about and just talking to people. And because I knew if I put out a call out, I'm looking for creatives, I'd have the same people who apply for everything applying. And there's nothing wrong with that. But the whole point of the project is very like rooted in systems change, and like we have to do things differently. Otherwise we'll just get the same outcomes over and over again. So I'm just going out and talking to people. Like I was in the dentist the other day and I told my dentist about the project, and she was like, oh, the receptionist is a painter. So I went and spoke to the receptionist and I'm like, oh, let's put some of your work on a wall and celebrate it. And I was just going to the pub and I met a bunch of dads who love dubstep music, and they might be the only ones who still love dubstep music, but they were like, can we bring it back for one night? So I was like, yeah, let's put it on Lincoln High Street on a Friday night and like program it in a way that people will engage with, because if we put dubstep in a club, no one's going to walk in the club. Yeah. But if we like blast it out on Lincoln High Street and have performers and stuff, then who would go to that? Who would we pull in as a crowd? So yeah, it's been quite exciting so far.
That's cool. So where did this start from?
So we've been, as a group, because I'm part of, so there's a systems change movement across the UK called Local Motion, and we have a Lincoln-based group. And for the last like 2 or 3 years, we've been having conversations about Lincoln's art scene. Why is it the way that it is? Recognising there's a lot of hurt and there's a lot of feelings of, like, a lot of people who might say that Lincoln isn't a creative city. And that's never been my experience. Like, I think Lincoln is so rich with creativity, but there are a lot of people who say, oh no, there's nothing going on in Lincoln. So we've been having conversations, trying to understand where that hurt is coming from. Because Lincoln is a city as well that things get done to. Like, people get funding, they come in, they go, oh, Lincoln's a culturally deprived city. We'll come in, we'll do a project to Lincoln, and then at the end of the 3 years, we'll leave again. And those things never seem to engage the community, whoever the community is. It can be quite surface level. Or if they do engage a community, then they leave at the end of 3 years. And we're sat here like, oh, what now? So there's a lot of hurt, and we've kind of been talking for the last few years about that. And we're not good at celebrating what we do. Like, as a city, we're really quite, I think because we're so close to Nottingham and we see what they're doing and we go, oh, well, we don't have primary or backlit. Like, we've not got those big spaces. We don't shout out the spaces that we do have, who are ultimately like much smaller, and like collectives who don't even have a space, but are doing really cool stuff. And so we just need to get better at celebrating that. And so that was part of this. We were just like thinking about what the next steps would be for the project. And it felt like no matter where you were on the ladder, there wasn't the support to get you to the next rung. And so how can we support people who are at the very bottom of the creative ladder, like not even calling themselves creatives, and just say like, you're allowed to celebrate it. You're allowed to call yourself a poet, even if the poems only exist in your notes app. You know, you're allowed to call yourself an artist, even if that artwork is, you know, crocheted plushies that you're doing on an evening. Like, you can still call yourself an artist.
So what's the next stage? And did you apply for funding or? So
through Local Motion, we got funding for that. So now I'm still kind of in the nattering stage. I'm going out, chatting to loads of people, building up a catalogue of people who are doing stuff, and then connecting them to people who want to organise events. Because the goal is that we'll have this one celebration, but then hopefully some of the stuff will continue afterwards. So at the moment, I'm just connecting people and having those conversations. And then I need to, like, this is my first time doing this. I don't know, budgeting is so hard. I'm like, I've got X amount of money.
Okay, so, but you said, so it's like a team that wanted this to go ahead.
Yeah.
Is it a team working on this now? Are you leading it? Or?
So at the moment, it's like just me.
It's just you doing it?
Yeah. So I'm organising it at the moment, and I'm gonna start getting some help. I've not been great at delegating. I need to learn to do that. So I'm looking for some people to support me through it. Helping with emails, admin stuff is the help I could really do with. And I've been just like chatting to people like Threshold Studios who run Frequency Festival. Like, I'm always nattering to Sam about like, what's a budget meant to look like? Because I don't know how much security costs, and I need to put a stage up on Lincoln High Street. So I need security to man that stage, and I don't know what that's going to cost.
No, I didn't know what a cash flow document was until applying for this series of this podcast. And you have to try and learn how to make it, to work one out on the fly and put one together. And you don't know if it's completely the wrong language you're talking when you kind of submit it. You just got to kind of work out what you can. Yeah.
And just sending emails to the council, like, what do you actually need from me? Like, because this feels too easy. I say too easy, like there's like a 40-page document they sent me to fill out. But then some of it I'm like, what are the steps? Like, there's no how to plan a festival for dummies, and there should be. Maybe I'll write it at the end of this process. Maybe that needs to be a thing.
So when were you initially planning on running the festival?
So originally it was going to be in October, but we've moved it to spring next year. Ultimately, if we want to reach the communities that aren't already engaged in that stuff, we need to take the time to do that. That's not something you can rush. I can't just put one social media post out as a call out and hope that I find unheard voices. I need the time to go physically to different spaces and chat to them, and spaces that like aren't typically creative or that aren't seen as creative. Like the mosque in Lincoln, they do amazing creative stuff, but when people think of creative venues, they don't think of the mosque. So working with them, just going to the pub as well. Like, there's loads of men in pubs who are doing stuff who don't celebrate it. And like the nerd community in Lincoln, like if you paint Warhammer, you're an artist.
I was about to say, one of my mates, Ross, he paints a Warhammer 40,000 army, and he shows me what he does. He magnetises bits and he does all this kind of cool stuff.
Yeah, it's really cool stuff. But they wouldn't call themselves artists.
Wow, I think it's an amazing project. So what have been the challenges? Because you were on this train and you've written this great poem that's just poured out. And maybe when we have an idea for something like this festival, it starts pouring out. But lots of things in the real world kind of mess with that flow, right? Is it tricky to keep the momentum and the enthusiasm for it when you're facing the real world issues of trying to make something you've not made before from scratch.
Yeah, and I think a big thing for me has been knowing how much hurt there is in the creative scene in Lincoln, knowing that anyone who tries to do something, people might not like it. And I'm a person who's very sensitive to criticism. Yeah. My emotions are super on the surface. And just knowing that, like, some people aren't going to like this idea. Some people might get a bit pissed off about it. And I have to be okay with that.
Annoyed because they would like the opportunities to share their work, or they think that these... I don't even understand how anyone could have an issue with this concept. It's a great idea.
I think some people... I think the fact that I'm not from Lincoln originally.
Okay.
Like, I'm from the West Midlands. I've been here 11 years. I hope they've adopted me by now. But some people might not like that. They might... so it might be like, why is she organising this? And ultimately, I'm like, get on board. Like, join me. I don't want to do it on my own. Please. Yeah. The more people involved, the better. There's the opportunity for anyone to share their work in this. And I'm super conscious about making it as accessible as possible. Like, however people want to get involved, even if that is just sending me an email saying, I don't like the way you're doing this. If you want to get involved in that way, do that. I want there to be as many voices as possible heard. But I just know that, like, nothing anyone does is going to be perfect. And so I'm just aware that, like... Is the fact... Have you got you got some funding there?
Yeah.
So is that a factor as well?
Mm-hmm.
I think people maybe only ever... And this is another part of this. You might only see the finished product. You might hear this podcast and you might not know all the hoops people have to jump through to create what's there.
Yeah.
And if some people haven't got that funding, they could go, well, why are they getting that to do this? Why couldn't... Is that a factor, do you think?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. It's super competitive for funding in Lincoln. And I think the fact that I'm maybe wanting to celebrate people who don't want to make jobs out of this, that there might be people who are like, but I do want to make a job out of this. Why is that not being
prioritised? Well, they could apply for some funding.
Yeah.
Maybe I've got quite a callous view on some aspects of it, but I do think it's very, very quick and easy for us as creatives to have a grumble.
Yeah.
Right? That's so quick and immediate, and it can be a plaster, I think. Sometimes I feel I chat with maybe older, sometimes poets in the scene, and I've clocked this over the last 10 years, and I go, oh, some people get quite negative as they get older. You know, they feel they didn't get the audience they deserved. They feel they didn't get the opportunity, you know. And I don't think you can control everybody else and everything else. You can only control yourself and how you react to things. And I don't know. It is challenging, but I also think there are ways you can do the tougher job of trying to create connections, build bridges, work with other people, find a way to do things than just having a grumble about everybody else. It's a bit draining for everyone, and I don't know if it gets anything done. I think what you're doing sounds wicked, and I bet if you're listening to this podcast right now, if you think it doesn't sound wicked, okay, but like, I can't see anything about it that doesn't sound absolutely like awesome. What have you learned from this? Because it sounds to me like such a huge amount of work to put on, to also then potentially have people grumbling when you're doing it. You're not showcasing your own work during this, I assume?
God, no. No, I'm not going to show any of my creative work in this. I've, had my work exhibited in Lincoln countless times. Like, this is the time for how can I support someone who wouldn't have the confidence to do that, to do it for the first time.
I'm appalled at the idea. Chris, what do you think?
I think it's excellent. Anything that is for creatives in any context is wicked.
Yeah, you're great at explaining it, Georgia, but the challenge is kind of on you, because normally the artists are quite keen to be involved, right? But you're having to go out and kind of put additional work in to kind of get people to want to present their work in that space. Are people universally happy and excited to be a part of it? How do people respond when you approach them?
Yeah, I think so far it's been really lovely, because it's been a lot of people who have maybe been like, oh yeah, I do some paintings in the evening. And I'm like, oh, you're an artist? And like, oh no. And then I see their work and I'm like, that's so cool. Like, you're doing really cool stuff. Like, who have you shown this to? And it's generally like just their family. Like, how would you feel about us putting it in a gallery? How would you feel about having a stand at a maker's market? Because having a stand at a maker's market is so expensive. Like, what if we could just get rid of that financial barrier for you and you could just sell your work?
And like the excitement for that has been really cool. So people generally seem to be on board.
What percentage of this project has been pleasure as opposed to pain?
Oh God. I think it's like 80% pleasure. So I put out an open call on Instagram, and it was a different open call to how to the usual sort of thing. It was like, do you write poetry in your notes app? Do you sing in the shower? Like that sort of thing. Do you like to dance on the South Common? Just asking people like what they do in their spare time. And I put that out really excited. And I didn't quite think through that would then mean people would email me, and oh my God, my inbox was flooded. And it was amazing. It was like such rich stuff that was coming through. But I'm not an email person. I'm not an admin person. And acknowledging the fact that you can't run a project like this without a level of admin.
Yeah, and you need to develop a team around you, don't you?
Yeah.
That's where you're going, Georgia. I can feel it. You're building something amazing.
Yeah.
We're very lucky now that we've got a team here, and we're kind of working out how we can utilise everybody, get everybody kind of growing in the team as we're kind of making stuff. 20% pain.
Yeah.
Did you expect that?
Yeah. And I'm not good at not being good at things. So acknowledging that I'm going to have to look at a spreadsheet and I'm not going to know what it means, and I just have to figure it out. I just have to push through and understand it. I can't just be like, oh, well, I guess I'm not good at spreadsheets and move on and do something else instead, because like I have to get those bits done in order for this project to work.
Well, I think you're tough. I think that takes a lot of grit to kind of like put that together, you know, from an idea, building it, handling all those kind of things. Well, with that in mind, should we listen to some more poems? Yeah? Chris?
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay, so we've got another trio of poems we're going to share. These are fantastic. They're so interesting in different ways. I really like hearing them against each other as well. The first piece we've got has been sent in by John Dredge, and it's called Lunch with the Laureate. The second piece is from a local poet, Dave Horgan, and we met briefly at the Peterborough Poet Laureate event a little while back. His piece is called Anxiety Asylum. And the third piece is, I'm really proud of this, another local poet from Peterborough, Laura Green, and a poem which I think is a great one to finish on, which is called The Space in Between.
Lunch with the Laureate. I saw that Simon Armitage have lunch in our cafe. I saw what he had ordered as I wasn't far away. Lettuce and tomatoes, cheese and beans were on his plate. So now you know exactly what the poet laureate.
Okay, this is Anxiety Asylum by Dave Horgan. You're living in an anxiety asylum where acid-tongued affluent arseholes browbeat and bully the broken and befuddled Brits of Albion, causing chaos, confusion, disquiet and discord to their dismal and dreary everyday existence. The elitists and egotists focus their fury on famished families, fearful foreigners and furry foxes frequently. You're living in an anxiety asylum, where a grift gets as good as a grueling day's graft, half-wits harp on about Harry and his hellcat, incompetent idiots justify judging clever kids with lazy, lousy language, and military meatheads are martyred for the mass murder of Muslims. You're living in an anxiety asylum, where a northern nonce nonchalantly, overtly and pathologically preyed perversely on powerless primary school pupils while presenting Britain's premier pop programme. His qualifications were quite questionable while he roamed around the random rooms of Stoke Mandeville. Celebrities and statesmen alike shielded and shadowed his sickening and stomach-turning torments till the time the transgressor was terminally entombed. You're living in an anxiety asylum, where unpleasant utterances are vociferously vomited out by vicious violent vandals and white power wankers who want Winston to win the war again, while I'm on wing one of this wacky ward, waiting and waiting and waiting in vain for his X-rated yarn to reach its xenophobic zenith. You're living in an anxiety asylum. Anxious Albion, burned out Britain.
The space in between. I am the space in the spaces we find in between, where I am misplaced and forgotten. Hibernating in stealth like a cicada, occluded in the intersect, cranked by cogs unseen for an inscrutable machine. unplumbed, spun, flung, and paused by tides of unknown waters that keep me an island in the in-between. Betwixt that space in the in-between, sometimes I'm seen, sometimes I'm not. Where my voice breaks in hushed whispers, but is etched in the sands that turn to glass, that frame my eyes to see beyond the seas and what lies lie beneath. Unseen but seeing, shushed but not silent, with a simmering hiss, smouldering, listening and recording, taking your measure as I prepare to take my cut. To tease out your story, paying attention to what you failed to mention, liberating the hidden through reflection as I dissect. I am not dead, just resting, here, in the in-between.
Thank you so much to John, Dave and Law for sending those great pieces in. First of all, that piece, the Poet Laureate piece. Did you guys like that one?
Yeah, I really liked it.
Yeah, it made me laugh. Yeah, I thought it was a great piece. Thank you so much for sending that through. The second piece, Anxiety Asylum, I feel like it kind of singed my eyebrows.
Yeah.
Brilliantly written. And I think there's kind of echoes of some of the things that you mentioned there, Georgia, in your piece, this kind of like trying to deal with often things are incredibly anxiety-inducing and stressful, and you're navigating. I think sometimes as an artist, it's almost like we have a layer of skin removed, and we're kind of very open and receptive to what's going on in society. And I always felt it was kind of trying to reflect that back in some ways, or trying to unite people and bring us together towards a common understanding. Tricky when you've got so many things going on as an artist that kind of get clogged up in your system.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for saying that. And then the last piece, Laura's piece, the space in between, just feels like a really powerful and thoughtful way of expressing, for me, Georgia, where you are.
Yeah.
Right? This space in between as you're creating something.
Yeah.
Whenever I'm working on something, at least, it feels like I'm not on dry land. You know, I'm out in choppy waters and I'm not sure how it's going to go. How did you find that poem?
Yeah, it was really poignant. Yeah, I really liked it. I see a lot of people in that space, and creatively feel like I'm in that space.
Chris, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I enjoyed it. It's really cool. It's strong.
Yeah, we talk about creating anything. Making this podcast, for example, there have been so many points when I've been doing applications or we've been talking about it or trying to work out how to get on, or that you're going, is it even going to work? Are people going to listen? Are people going to send poems in? There's so many ways we can get it wrong. Thank you if you've been listening to a few episodes. I think I and I are way too much. We're kind of all trying to learn a new skill set all the time as an artist.
Yeah.
But I think that idea that we are at our best when we're existing in between spaces, and that's something that maybe we can do particularly well.
Yeah.
It's probably something, if you're listening to this and you're not certain about how you're doing with your practice, if you're operating in that space, that's a real achievement as well, because not everyone wants to be there.
Yeah. I think we're not kind enough to ourselves as creatives. And we need to, learn that just by doing, just by showing up, even if you're not showing up and creating, if you're just in those spaces existing, like, you're doing all right.
Yeah, sometimes it's like people kind of look at it's the end game, but it's not. It's a process. It's always a process. It's the journey of how you got somewhere. The output is not essential and it's not really important. But during the process is where you find yourself and how you find the art comes together.
Yeah. I had somebody emailed me a couple of weeks ago asking for advice on applying for funding for their own podcast. We had a chat on the phone for an hour and going through it. And I think that's the thing we can do by documenting and sharing what we're working on, is we can help each other kind of a little bit kind of navigate that kind of space. So if you're listening to this episode, thank you so much for joining us. It's been so cool. We're so happy we get to keep making this. And Georgia, thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks so much for having me. I've really enjoyed it.
Chris, I'm inspired.
Yeah, it's great. Nice and chill as well. It's been a nice vibe today, right?
Yeah. And nice for us to have a little reflect on that space that we all occupy so much, and how well we do to hang out in there. George, we're going to keep chatting. We want to hear how this project goes. What's it called?
It doesn't have a name yet. The community need to name it. So
they get to name it as well.
Part of the conversations I'm having at the moment is like, what the hell are we going to call this? because it's not my job to name it. It's not my project.
No, okay.
So
no name's actually got a nice ring to it.
Yeah. If people want to keep up with this project or your work, how would they kind of follow what you're up to?
So I'm on Instagram. Gap in the Lens is my Instagram handle. I'm kind of sharing everything on there at the moment, and you can just drop me an email or a message on there if you want to get involved.
Amazing. Thank you to every single poet we featured on this episode so far. Chris.
Yo.
Thank you for joining us with your dulcet tones.
That's all good.
Thank you to Ren, who is in the room,
yeah, man.
like hopping about in the background. We're trying out some new things with video cameras, seeing what we can do in relation to our video recording. And thanks to Arts Council England for supporting this project with public funding. And thank you for listening and joining us today for a really, really thoughtful, chilled episode.